Hi, Mr. Robert. Thank you so much for taking the time out today and joining me in this podcast episode. I really appreciate it. How are you doing today?
Mate, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, doing absolutely great. Yeah, really looking forward to our conversation and learn more about your new book, which is The Sales Chain, which we talked
Yep.
about before our pre-podcast call. So yeah, I'm super excited to know more about what's the book about and what are you trying to accomplish with the book. Like what kind of message you would like to share with our audience and also the people around. So before we get to that, I want
Mm.
to know more about you, and our audience would love to know more about who Robert Elliott is, like why you read the written the book, and also like what do you actually do in terms of like your career wise.
Yeah. Oh, look, that's easy. Look, I'm born in Sydney, Australia. I've lived here all my life, married, two kids, one grandchild, one on the way. So just like everything, just a normal, family man, love the kids, love everything.
Yeah.
Uh, Look, I grew up in Sydney. My parents ran hotels,
Right.
pubs, we call them, and they were chalk and cheese. My mum was the hard nut business lady and my dad was Mr. Popular.
Hmm.
But in any business, they were all about looking after the customer. Didn't matter who you were, didn't matter who walked through the door.
Yeah.
My father had this inane ability to make everyone feel welcome. We didn't care where you came from, what you look like, it didn't matter.
Right.
Mum and dad just wanted everyone to feel welcome.
Yeah.
And they sort of instilled that into me.
Hmm.
And growing up in Sydney, like every big city, it has its moments,
Yeah.
and you make some mistakes along the way, and you like every kid, you get into trouble and hope your parents don't find out, all that type of stuff. And I went into the banking area when I was little because as in young starting off because mum said she wanted me to do another career apart from being in the pubs.
Okay.
But when we got out of the pubs and I was in that, but I was never really happy. So I moved eventually over to what I love doing, and that was selling. Fast forward to today, I realized that there's nothing out there for people who are just starting off in sales.
Hmm.
There's a lot of high end books, there's a lot of expensive courses,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things out there. But for someone who's just starting out or someone who doesn't understand sales,
Right.
no, they don't know the normal terminologies. They don't know how to sell to someone they don't know.
Hmm.
And so I do sales and business training for people
Right.
where I poke and prod because most people have the answers within them. And then someone said, why don't you write a book? Just an easy ultimate guide to someone starting out. And so the sales chain, tips and tools and an insider's view on the business of sales was born.
Right. So when did you publish the book? Was it this year?
Yeah, it was published in right at Christmas.
Okay.
And with COVID and everything else happening, it's all been buried, but it's now coming out. It's available all over the world
Yeah.
through the normal online thing. And it's been whirlwind. It's been fun. No world tour, unfortunately, because of COVID. But I'm loving getting out there and talking to people about it. And the feedback's been awesome, which has been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. So in terms of like your career wise, like you help entrepreneurs and business owners help them like building their sales team
Mm.
and teach them like how to do it like proper way. So how did you choose that career path? Like why you go into like sales? Like is there something like accidentally happen or like you knew like you're good on sales and you love to help them?
People told me I was good at sales,
Okay.
but I felt when I was helping someone,
Yeah.
I mean, it's an old term saying selling to somebody. You're really not these days. You're giving somebody something they need.
Mm,
It made me happy. It
right.
honestly made me happy. And I did the job that I was told to do by my parents. Like a lot of our parents, through their goodness of their heart, try to guide their children
Yeah.
on where they should go and what they should do. And they don't mean any ill will, but sometimes that's not the path you should go down.
Right.
And sales sort of found me. And because I'm so relaxed about it, I love talking, I love getting out there. It just happened.
Hmm.
And then I started to help people one-on-one. And it just went from there, mate.
Right. Yeah, that's a great thing. Like sales not easy for like everyone, and oftentimes like entrepreneurs and businessmen,
Hmm.
they trying to avoid the sales call or
Yes.
like getting into like any kind of presentation and everything,
Yeah.
and like a cold calling wherever is there in terms of like any kind of sales thing. Even the customers,
Yeah.
like if any salespeople comes there, like a back off, like I don't want to get
Yeah.
sold.
True.
So
True.
yeah, and you chose like a difficult kind of career and right now in making living out of it and teaching other people how to do it proper way.
Hmm.
So tell us about like what kind of message in the sales chain book you have written. What's kind of like a guide you're trying to explain to like consumers?
Look, sales, a lot of people complicate sales, and a lot of people forget that everyone's in sales. You may not be selling, but everyone's in sales.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter what your business is. Accountants, engineers, doctors have to
yeah,
sell themselves to patients very quickly, and normally in a traumatic situation.
yeah.
So they have to have the ability. When you meet your life partner,
Mm,
you've got to sell yourself to them, or they're not going to stay with you. I mean, that's the truth.
yeah,
So a lot of people tell themselves that sales is bad and sales is tough. No, you're telling yourself that. What we did in the book was we went through things like questioning, listening, body
right.
language, uh, rebuttals, basics. And then the most important thing in the book, which I get to right at the end, is people need to be themselves.
Yeah.
People need to do not, and it doesn't in life, it doesn't matter. People pick up very quickly if you're trying to be someone you're not.
Mm,
In Australia, we call it the bullshit meter.
mhm.
It goes off very quick. But if you look at yourself, your intuition will tell you if someone is not telling the truth,
Right.
if someone is just following the process, because that's what they've been trained to do.
Yeah.
Can I have fries with that? It comes through. With a person who listens, the person who asks the right questions, the right style of questions, who understands different people. Uh, Especially these days, it used to be when I grew up, I didn't know anyone from Pakistan, India, Russia, anything like that, because people didn't travel as much.
Yeah.
Now, people are traveling.
Yeah.
So when people are traveling and moving countries and they're living there, you have to know how to sell to them. You have to know how to respect their culture
Yeah.
and the way they are. So the book talks about asking the right questions. I call it also listening with your ear. Watching with your ears. In other words, you can listen with your ears, you can watch with your ears, you can do the same with your eyes.
Yeah.
It's all body language.
Mm,
So if you watch and ask a question of somebody and watch how they react, you know very quickly if you're going the right path or the wrong
wrong
path.
path. Yeah.
Uh, Listening with your eyes is looking at how they are and what their mannerisms are, the words people use. Some people don't swear. Some people do swear.
Yeah.
Some people use auditory words about loudness and bang and this and that, and others use descriptive words. So it's about matching and learning all about that and trying your hardest to look at someone and help them and do the best you can for them. Other people just know what they want. They walk in, I'll say, I need that blue shirt in this size, and they're gone. It's cool.
Sure.
Other people don't know what shirt they should wear on Saturday night. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So in terms of like sales and making some kind of sales call or like a sales presentation, whatever we
Yeah.
want to call it, like how important do you think like a questioning, understanding like who's the actual consumer is? Are they actually pre-qualified for like your products or services you're trying to sell? Most of the
Yeah.
time as a sales professional, they just present their product and features
Yes.
and everything is like 90% of the time without
Mm.
questioning like do they actually need that kind of products or services, or do they kind of have the kind of budget they were looking for? Like you don't want to sell like a Ferrari to someone like an average making $25,000 a year,
Mm.
right? You have to know like your ideal customers. So how important is like a questioning and know your prospect?
Look, when it's face to face, when someone's walking in a retail outlet,
Yeah.
the best thing you can say to them is, "How can I help you today?" Or
Yeah.
"What are you looking for today?" And then say nothing. We're giving two ears and one mouth for a reason. And that's how much you should talk.
Yeah.
And if you keep asking what we call open questions, they're questions that you don't have a yes or no answer to, and you
Right.
don't use them until right to the end, a customer will tell you exactly what they want. So all you can do is, "G'day, mate, how are you? What can I do for you today?" And they'll let them talk.
Right.
Then ask them another open question and let them talk. When it comes to sales presentations, there's nothing worse than having someone pitching to you a product that you've got, you're not even close to it. And if they can't take the time to know the customer that they're approaching or know who best suits their product, they shouldn't be in sales. We call it shotgun sales, where you shoot a shotgun and it's got multiple pellets and you see what you hit. It's the worst type of sales. It's lazy sales, and it burns people out.
Right.
The best salespeople or the best account managers or whatever it is, if you're doing cold calling, especially, you know what we call an avatar. You know the best person or the best company that suits the product that you're doing, and you target them.
Yeah.
You don't waste someone's time, especially today, because someone like you, if you're looking to buy a new car, you've already done your research before you walk into the showroom.
Yes.
You know you want a Toyota or a Ford or a Maserati. You know what color you like. You know if you want it manual. You know all that.
Yeah.
It's only coming down to the little bits and pieces. So customers are no longer fools. When you get to a lot of the technical stuff or stuff that's specific, a customer will say to you, "I have an issue with this. Can you help me?"
Right.
The worst thing someone can do is what we call listen to respond, where you already have, the call center people, where how you answer is how they answer. So a lot of, and we've all been guilty of it. A lot of people when they're younger, I call it younger as in early in the career, not younger in age.
Okay.
They get excited and they start thinking, "I know if I give him this answer, I'll close him. I'll give him this," but they're not listening. They're listening to respond without listening to what the customer says. And then they miss the important details. They miss that one little bit and you lose a sale.
Right.
It's much like when we go to answer our wife when she's trying to give us some advice before she's finished talking. We get in trouble.
It's true.
Because we didn't listen. We listened to respond. It's also called respect.
Yeah. So in terms of listening, so we know in sales is listening is most important thing. As far as with my career, because I was in a sales profession as well. I worked for a company called Converges. We used to sell Vodafone phones, gas, electricity and everything. So I got trained from best salespeople from a US and UK, and they came and did the teaching. Is most of the time they tell us you only talk about 5% of the time, 95% of the time let your customers talk to you. Just
100%.
ask the right question and just listen.
Yes.
And today I just upgraded my phone for newer phones. So obviously, like you mentioned, you already know what car you want to buy. So I knew already what kind of phone I'm looking for is the latest phone I'm just looking for. So the salesperson who I spoke to for my network, he just taking my orders. So he's not selling me anything, no features, nothing. It just only 10 minutes call. He just took my order and that's the end of it. So he's not, I wouldn't call it as a salesperson. So salesperson will be listening, understanding or anything. And that way he talked and everything. He wouldn't ask any other things because I'm trying to negotiate my price. This is what I love to do, my monthly features. He never asked for a second, would you be considering different kind of model or anything. No other question. Is this is best I can do and this is it. And from my high, I know I just need to negotiate my price, that's all. But I'll know what I'm wanted and I don't want to go for any other model. But with kind of point of view of his, he never asked any other question. Would you be looking for similar kind of phone what could be priced less, or this is what I can do, would you reduce your data? No other follow-up question what can lead me for a different kind of choices I could make. And so someone not asking the right question and someone not listening. So how would you tell someone to how they can listen and could be a better listener in terms of a sales?
I tell them through a story. What you said is quite true. It does happen a lot.
Yeah.
And the best thing I can say is I went this is 100% true. I went to buy a new mobile phone.
Mm.
I was with the same company, and a worldwide company,
Yeah.
for 10 years, let's say. And, they have beautiful stores, beautiful layouts. I walked in and said, "Hi, I'm looking for a new phone. What
Yeah.
are you after?" "I'm after this. I like this brand."
You're right.
So he went over, picked, and just started talking. Never asked me what plan I was on, never asked me anything. But while he was going through all the specs and that, he was
Yeah.
looking outside the shop, wasn't looking at me, didn't ask a question. He went through the whole thing. I
Yeah.
went, "Fine, thanks," and walked out. Walked up to the competitor, got asked, "How can I help you? What are you looking for? What's your budget today? Is
Mm.
there anything else I can do for you?" And I bought a phone.
Yeah.
That is the best way to train someone, in my opinion, is stories. And
Okay.
so, and that story is actually in the book,
Right.
because when you tell a story, it relates straight up. Anyone can tell you a methodology, a
Mm.
process. But when you tell a story about what happens when you don't listen,
Right.
then people get it. You can tell, it's like telling a child, "You can't have that. You can't have
Yeah.
that." And they just keep pushing you. But if you say, you're not going to have that biscuit because it's going to ruin your dinner that we're cooking in a half an
Yeah.
hour. Oh, okay. So when it comes to listening, that is the best way to do it. And that is a story I do use to show to people what can happen.
Yeah.
There's a terminology we use is sell them what they want, give them what they need.
Yeah.
Customer wants a phone. I'm going to give you a phone. But then you find out what they need, and then you give them the phone they need. So you've done it twice. You've sold them twice. The lazy salesperson will just give them a phone.
Yeah. And
The
they
good
they
person,
actually do that. Yeah.
as in the good person, the good salesperson, but also the good person, doesn't allow someone to buy something that doesn't suit what they're looking for.
It's true.
Also, it comes down to character.
Yeah.
You want that customer to walk up and say, "Go and see George, Mohammed, Aaron, uh, Julie down the road at this phone shop," because they look after you. They just don't go and sell you a phone. They actually make sure you get the right phone for what you're looking for.
Mhm.
Repeat customers. You
Yeah.
don't, that's the best thing. Like the coffee guy who knows your name when you walk in and knows what you're drinking. You tell others to go there because he's really good.
Yeah.
It's simple. It doesn't have to be that hard.
So, do you think there is a difference between selling a high ticket product and a lower ticket product, or like,
Oh,
do you
yeah.
think the effort is the same?
The effort is the same. The customer is different.
Mm.
With high end products, you've got two types of customer. You've got the guy who has worked his way to be very, very successful.
Yeah.
He knows his product, knows what he wants, and it's just going to come down to price. And you have to play the game. We call it mirroring, where
Right.
you mirror how they speak to you, you mirror the words they use, and you acknowledge that they know what they're talking about.
Okay.
The other customer is the one that's either won lotto and just wants to buy the fancy car,
Yeah.
or his mum and daddy's money. It's still a high-end purchase.
Mm.
But it comes down to looking at the type of person you're dealing with. But they can be more demanding. So you have to know your stuff. High-end sales, have to know your technical stuff. You don't have to say it. You
Yeah.
just have to be able to answer it. And if you don't know, this is the worst thing salespeople do, is they lie.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with saying to a customer, "I don't know about that. Just give me a minute and I'll come back. I just want to confirm what I think is right. I'd
Yeah.
rather than tell you the wrong information." A good customer will respect that. But
Mm.
you lie to them and sell them something that doesn't do what you said, you've lost them for life, you've lost the sale, and you
Got the
could
bad
lose your job
reputation. Yeah.
and your reputation. The only thing you and I own,
Yeah.
no one can take away, is our reputation. It's who we are and how we treat people.
Definitely.
So, all of a sudden you're in trouble.
Yeah. So another thing which is led to the question, which is we oftentimes, like after like one sales calls, or like a presentation, we
Mm.
just gave up on the prospects. We think it's a dead end. They said no,
Yeah.
and don't even call them back, don't even bother chasing them up.
Mm.
So in terms of like, obviously you in a sales, I'm in a sales, I own my
Mm.
marketing agency. So it's a follow-up game for us. But
It is.
oftentimes the business owners, like they don't care about that data. They don't care about like someone give them a call
Mm.
every quarter or like a month or something, like wherever their plan has. So how important is like having a follow-up, and how many touch points you needed to get the sales from the prospects?
Most of the time, if you've done your presentation right
Yeah.
and you've answered all their questions, your follow-up should only be one or two.
Mm,
If you've got to do multiple follow-ups, you haven't done your job.
right.
Now, follow-ups, a no can be a yes, and a yes can be a no. You just want an answer. So I say to people, if I'm closing after a major presentation, when
Yeah.
would you like me to call you? Not
Mm,
would you like me to call you? When would you like me to? So you get them to commit. And
yeah.
once someone commits to calling you back,
Yeah.
that's fine. You remove the angst around saying no. You say, look, I just like to know either way, because I don't want to waste your time. So you're acknowledging
Mm,
that this time is important, but you really don't want to waste your own.
right.
So even an email, a text to say, were we successful? Were we not? Fine. If someone says you weren't successful, say, fantastic. Thank you so much for letting me know. I really appreciate you coming back. Is there any feedback you can give me? Anything we could do better for next time when we come together?
Mm-hmm.
Another. So then you learn from something you've done. And quite often I've got sales that I've lost and come back
Right.
because someone's promised them the world
Yeah.
and then they've rung me and help. I mean, blah, blah, blah. And so you help them out if they're good people. If they're a company that just shops price and
Yeah.
treats you bad and doesn't treat you with respect, a funny thing happens. Normally the price that I quoted back then is no longer available and it's a much dearer price.
Yeah.
So, if you can get them back. But, if you leave the door open, always leave the door open. Sometimes the customer's not worth it.
Right.
Sometimes they're so difficult to deal with, demanding, and expect too much that it's
Mm,
better to walk away because your time is also money.
it's true. Like some
So
toxic
quite often,
clients, right?
there's nothing wrong with walking away. So look, I don't think our product's best really suited for you.
Yeah.
Walk away. Be strong. Because it's going to save you money in the long run. It's going to save you business money. When
Yeah.
you and I both dealt with customers that are very demanding, and
Yeah.
if you look at your time, they're not worth it.
It's true.
Go to a customer that values your time.
And this is the hard thing for like entrepreneurs say no to, right? If
Mm.
any business opportunity comes, like whatever clients they can take on, it doesn't
Mm.
really actually, if it's like the price is $5,000, then they giving away like $2,000 because of getting any clients. But
Mm.
this $2,000 going to get into hell. They ask for a refund, they ask for other things,
Yes.
no satisfaction, probably bad reviews if you have like an
Mm.
online site or something. And
Yep.
also that time they're taking away from you because you have to call them up, you have to email them back and forth and everything, customer service, then that takes a
Mm.
lot of good energy. So that turns into negative energy. And you
Mm.
could have like another next 2, 3 new clients. This is the time, but you wasted because of you just want to get
Mm.
one sale, right?
True. True. Look, know your worth. Know what you're worth. And I say that is, if that was the case, Mercedes and BMW,
Yeah.
Maserati wouldn't sell any cars because you can still get around on a Hyundai,
Yeah.
a cheap Chinese car. So why do people still buy their cars when they're mega expensive? Because of
Mm,
the product, because of the quality. You pay for what you get, as we say.
yeah.
So when you're selling, as long as you're not being silly with your pricing, don't discount. Rather than
Yeah.
add them more value.
Right.
Add them an extra one-on-one session, add them a book, add them a cheap course, add them something else. As
Mm,
soon as you start to discount, you're in trouble.
yeah.
I mean, heavy discount, not, you're having a slow month, so you knock 10% off for the month of
Yeah.
June to get some sales through. That's different. But as you said, the people who want the big discounts normally complain, are
Yeah.
never happy. So they're customers you don't want.
Yeah. So true. Yeah, I had experienced that in my career as well. At the beginning, I thought like, yeah, I can get clients for £250 per month, which
Mm.
is ridiculous. I couldn't close any, and even though after that I closed about £500 a month, and that guy make me nuts. And the energy I wasted for next 3 months, I couldn't go like a 6 or 7 new clients in. But I was working, trying to make him happy and everything for a
Mm.
good reputation, good case studies, but I wouldn't get satisfied. Right now, we work with the $5,000 a month and everything. I don't have
Yeah.
to like put that kind of energy into it. And clients are happy, we are happy, and they're going as smooth as possible. So yeah,
Well, those customers end up being repeat customers and they
yeah,
tell other people, where the other ones, nah, not worth it, buddy.
yeah. So like to make it like a sales, what do you do for like a closing wise? So you did your presentation, you listen to them.
Mm.
What kind of, there is a like obviously you have expertise on that. So what's the great
Mm.
way to close the deal, like here and there, rather than follow
There's,
up or with like a 6, 7 times?
there's no secret sauce. There's no secret way. A lot of people, and I did this when I was young. I did a
Mm,
fantastic presentation. I answered all their questions. I said, is there anything else you need to know?
yeah,
They said, no, no, no. And without even blinking, I said, fine, no worries. I'll talk to you later. Packed up my gear and left.
yeah,
And I got to the receptionist and she said, Mr. Elliott, Mr. Elliott. I said, yes. She said, oh, Mr. Jones is looking for you. I said, what do you mean?
right,
He says, looking for you. I hadn't got out of the building.
right.
Me, young, enthusiastic, eager, forgot to do the most important thing, ask for the sale.
Mm,
Can we do business today? Is there anything else I can do for you? Are you happy with what I've offered? That's when you do closed questions.
right,
You start to then bring them back to where you want. It's horses for courses, as we call it.
yeah,
If you've answered everything they want and you've given them all the answers they're looking for and they've got nothing else to ask, it'll close itself.
right,
You go in and you want a new pair of jeans and the lady or the guy says, what would you like? You say, look, I want a new pair of Levi's. I'm in this size,
mhm,
in this budget. And they go, there you go. Is there anything else I can do for you today? Deal's closed.
right,
You've got to read the situation. It's nothing wrong in major presentations
yeah,
to say, what's the timeline from here? Where do we go to from here? Then they have to tell you and they're committing.
mhm,
If they say we just have to make a discussion, you say, well, that's fantastic. No worries. Is there anything else you need to know from me? Have I
right,
left anything out? No, everything's fine. Okay, so when will I be hearing from you? You put
yeah,
it back on them. And if in the worst case, there's nothing wrong with saying, can we do business today?
mm,
Or can you buy that today?
yeah,
Don't be afraid. It's like so many people growing up who don't go and ask the pretty girl for a drink or a dance. You don't know unless you ask.
it's true.
You sit on the other side of the bar or other side of the dance or wherever you are,
Yeah,
and you never go near that person. And you know what? Quite often that person just wants someone to talk to.
yeah,
And we've all done it in life.
it's true.
Just ask, what's the worst they're going to say? No, who cares? Move on.
Mm,
You've got to look at it that way. You cannot take it personally. Quite often I've lost sales to people I've still got friendships with.
yeah,
Only because the product that I was selling wasn't good enough and the one they needed something else, but we still talk.
yeah,
So I just say rip the band-aid off and ask.
yeah.
It
That's
doesn't
great.
matter.
So we often sometimes see like a salespeople try to push the sale too much. It's
Yep.
like they just do whatever they can to close the deal.
Mm.
Like you mentioned earlier, like they lies and everything, and
Yeah.
also they say so many things, like pushing too hard, like after question
Yes.
and everything. Probably the prospect couldn't make their mind up, and they probably want to start in 2 months' time, or like they don't have the
Mm.
budget yet, but
Yep.
they're really eager to the product. But the salesperson like to try to close the deal here and there.
Mm.
So do you think it's a bad thing for like a long run relationship, or do you think they need to avoid this?
Depends on the product you're selling.
Mm.
Some products are not repeat products.
Yeah.
So you need to close the sale and move on because they're a cheap product, high turnover.
Right.
Other ones, you and I know people are trained. You use certain words with certain phrases to close a deal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of consumer laws out there now that protect people that you're allowed to pull out of a contract within 2 or 3 days. The scary thing is that a good trained salesperson who's used, say, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, or anything else,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a person that's easily led, you can get them to buy anything.
Right.
That's not ethical. There are people out there that will do it.
Yeah.
There are people out there trained to do it. And they can make a lot of money, not long term, only short term.
Yeah.
It goes against my beliefs. I ask people, do not sell anything to anyone that you don't believe they need.
Mm.
Because I'm a strong believer in karma. It
Yeah.
will come back. You do good, it comes back threefold.
Yeah.
You do wrong, it comes back threefold. So you need to be able to walk down the street and see that person that you've sold to and just nod and say g'day.
Yeah.
But if you know you've done the wrong thing, you're going to be looking at your shoelaces when you walk down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to enjoy your job, which is most important, enjoy life and be a good person, what you practice in business, you should also practice in life.
Yeah.
So I know it sounds funny, but I tell you what, I made the mistake. I pushed people and got them to buy things that, yeah, they needed, but you know, I was down on my budget and a boss yelling at me in the old days. But did I keep that customer long term? No.
Right.
So it comes down to you got to believe in what you're doing. You got to be true to who you really are in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find somebody who's trying to hard sell you, you can look at them, you take a step back and they'll keep pushing. But in the end, you just say no.
Yeah.
You walk away, like I did to the telephone sales guy and went to his opposition. People have got to have the courage these days to say no.
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. It's called intuition. We all have it. Every person's born with it.
It's true.
It's different to being nervous. It's different to being, wary of everyone when they make a big purchase is like, no. Well, there's nothing wrong with taking time, but people say you're only procrastinating. There's no such thing as procrastination.
Mm.
Procrastination is just the choice of not making a decision. Yeah. So you're making a decision to make a decision.
Yeah.
And those type of customers you don't want because they'll never make a decision. So I just say be true to yourself.
Yeah.
That's I've always said that in all my coaching.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing the advice. So yeah,
no problem
we're running
at all,
we're running out of time for this podcast. It's had a great fun. So yeah, those who's listening to our podcast, where is the best place to find your new book?
The book, thesaleschain.com. You can easily look that up. You can look up me, robelliott.com.au. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, everywhere else. The book's available through everywhere where you normally buy online books. Mm-hmm. There's some great people from all over the world. There's a photographer from New York. He's from London. I have a venture capitalist who's based in the UK. I have a lady who teaches at the Monaco International University. So there's people from all over the world that have put their chapters in and their versions of sales.
Yeah.
It's a very easy read. You can get it anywhere online. It's written in a way that doesn't matter what your level of English is, mm-hmm. You'll understand it. And that was more important because we now got a lot of people from all over the world. Yeah. And there'd be nothing worse than you going into a new country and you need to learn about selling and you don't understand when someone says what's niching. You can learn all about it in the book. That's what it's there for. And look, reach out. My contacts are all there. If you've got a question on sales, I've got no problem. If you drop me a message on Instagram or LinkedIn or anything like that and say, hey, Rob, I'm stuck. Yeah. I've read your book. What can I do? I'm more than happy to help anybody.
That's great. Yeah, thank you so much, Robert. I really appreciate you for giving the time out today and for our audience. So I wish you best of luck with your book and also with your career as well. And I had a great fun doing podcast with you. So best of luck.
Thank you, buddy. You look after yourself over there in the UK.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. So you know how to find Robert. So go check out his book, thesaleschain.com. And yeah, like if you want to reach out to him for any sales advice or any kind of consultation, go check out his website, which is robertelliott.com.au. And yeah, you can find him on a social media platform as well, like LinkedIn, Facebook. So yeah, till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and talk to you in the next episode. Thank you, everyone. Take care.